You're listening to How to Drink Less, and I'm your host, Adriana Cloud. Whether your goal is to cut back, take a break, or say goodbye to alcohol for good, this podcast will help you stop drinking on autopilot, learn how to manage cravings, and feel fully in control around alcohol. It's easier than you think. Listen on to find out how. Hi everyone, welcome back for another episode of How to Drink Less. This week I want to talk about the benefits of delaying the first drink. If you normally pour your first gin and tonic of the evening at 6 p.m., can you maybe wait until 7 tonight? Or if you normally order a beer the moment you step into the bar with your friends, next time, can you start with the soda water instead? There's very practical benefits of delaying the first drink. Namely, you might very well end up drinking less overall. That's not true for everyone, of course, but people tend to limit their alcohol consumption based on time. So if you delay the first drink, you're essentially shortening your window for drinking, and you might just end up drinking less than you normally would. But other than the quantifiable difference of how early you reach for the alcohol and how much you drink overall, there are several other benefits of delaying the first drink that are less immediately measurable, perhaps, but equally, if not more important. Before I go any further, though, I want to stress that this is not about using more willpower or about resisting harder. And I'm also not trying to suggest that the reason to delay the first drink is so that you then talk yourself out of drinking altogether. Not at all. You still get to drink if you want to. Rather, the point in delaying is to deepen your understanding of your cravings and to weaken the false sense of urgency that often accompanies cravings. The urge to drink often feels like an emergency that demands an immediate response, but when you practice delaying your response, you start to weaken that sense of urgency, and you're also gathering evidence that, in fact, the world will not fall apart if you don't have a glass of wine in your hand within 10 seconds of shutting off your computer for the day. Ultimately, what delaying the first drink does is it restores your agency to make an intentional choice. It allows you to take back your power over alcohol rather than feeling like you're at the mercy of the clock or the situation or at the mercy of your cravings. And that's why we're talking about this practice today. Let's start by looking at what happens when you have the thought, a drink would be nice. It's just a signal that your body needs something, and because alcohol has become the easy button, your brain might tell you that what you need is alcohol. But if you pause, you might actually realize that what you're really craving is food or water because you're hungry or dehydrated. Most of us are so disconnected from our bodies that we have forgotten how to read the signals that we're getting from them. And on the point of dehydration specifically, there's research that shows that if you wait until you feel thirsty to drink water, or if you notice that your lips are dry or cracked, you're already dehydrated and you might have already lost 1 to 2% of your body's water. And even that small loss can impair cognitive functioning, mood, your nervous system, so many things. Very few people regularly drink the recommended amount of water, and most of us should indeed be drinking more water. So as a general rule, if you have a craving, just have a glass of water first. Odds are you could really use it. Second of all, it's important to remember that cravings, like most emotions, only last about 90 seconds. That's it. A craving has two components, a mental one and a physical one. The mental one is the thought you're thinking. Something like, a drink would be nice, I deserve a drink, I really need a drink right now, or anything along those lines. And the physical component of the craving is the sensations in your body that you feel when you think that thought. For some people, the physical sensations are actually quite minor. Maybe they feel a bit of tension, maybe their breath is a little faster, maybe they're feeling a little bit jittery. And for other people, the physical sensations can be quite intense. Something like dry mouth, shaking hands, really fast breathing, increased heart rate, and so on. But whatever sensations you're experiencing, they move through you like a wave. They start small, then they intensify, and there's a peak during which you feel them most intensely, and then the wave crests and falls, and the sensations weaken. And the whole cycle usually lasts about 90 seconds. I know that sounds unbelievable because you might have had the experience of longer cravings, but that's only because you've kept thinking new thoughts that cause you to want to drink. You're obsessively thinking about alcohol, and that's what prolonged the craving. But if you just pause for a few minutes and don't think about alcohol, the craving might just pass. Another reason to delay the first drink is that we often have a story about how cravings will be unbearable, and we don't even question that story. We take it as a done deal that if we have a craving, we have to answer it. That was for sure how I thought about it. If I had a craving, then it was a foregone conclusion. I was going to have a drink. It didn't even occur to me that I could just let the craving be there and not answer it. But if you delay the first drink, you give yourself a chance to compare the story in your mind with the reality. And you might just realize that cravings are not actually unbearable. You will bear them and survive them. Delaying the first drink also helps you to separate the alcohol from the ritual surrounding the alcohol. If you normally order a drink within 5 minutes of walking into the bar with your friends, you're not really stopping to check in with your body to see if you're really wanting the drink or if it's just habit kicking in. Give yourself time to notice what happens if you order a mocktail or a soda to begin with. And the same applies for drinking in any other situation. Let's say drinking while making dinner. You've trained your brain that the minute you walk into the kitchen, you get yourself a drink first. But so many times, it's the ritual more than the actual liquid in the glass that really matters. So you might find that having any other drink in your hand does the trick. There's a social component worth exploring too. Most of us worry about what other people will think if we order something non-alcoholic. Sometimes that fear is completely unfounded because it turns out that most people really don't care what's in your glass. But sometimes there will be people in your life who might question you, might wonder why you're ordering a lemonade on a Friday night, especially if these are people who you normally drink tequila shots with every Friday night. But what tends to be the case is that people might question you at the start of the evening when the first round of drinks is being ordered, and then they're really likely to forget about you and to focus on their own glass. So, if you can get through that first order or the first pour of the night, odds are you'll find that by the second round, no one will question you, so there's less pressure to join in. But perhaps most importantly, if you delay the first drink, you're interrupting the pattern that you've taught your brain to follow. You've broken the old habit loop that your brain had been operating on. Anything you do repeatedly becomes a habit, and if you practice the habit enough times, that behavior becomes subconscious. What that means is that you're not even fully aware that you're doing it anymore. You're operating on muscle memory. But if you can interrupt the pattern by delaying the first drink, it jolts your brain out of autopilot mode. Now, suddenly, your conscious awareness kicks in because you're doing something different than the norm. And when you're consciously aware, you're a lot more likely to make choices that fit better with your long-term goals rather than ordering a drink just because that's what you're used to doing in this particular situation. I want to say this again because it's really important that you hear me. Every time you can introduce a pause before you pour a drink, you're weakening the old unconscious patterns you were operating from. That's one of the two components of habit change, breaking the old patterns. The second one is intentionally teaching your brain how you want it to act instead. So now that you understand why this is important, let's talk about how to begin practicing this. It's really simple, but here are a couple of ways to get you started. When you feel the craving, drink a glass of water or drink a full non-alcoholic drink first before having any alcohol. Or eat something before deciding if you will have an alcoholic drink. Or set a 10-minute timer. You can use that 10 minutes to stretch, to text a friend that you're thinking about them, dance in the kitchen, pet your dog, empty the dishwasher, lie down quietly in a dark room, anything at all. And remember, the goal isn't to talk yourself out of the drink, although that might actually happen, because you might notice that when you come back to the decision later, the urgency of the craving is gone, and now it's easier to order a second non-alcoholic drink. To reinforce that point, you might even remind yourself, I can still drink later if I want to. If this resonates, this is exactly the kind of work I do with my coaching clients. We slow things down, we interrupt autopilot, and we rebuild your self-trust without shame, without willpower, and without all or nothing rules. You can book a free consultation using the link in the show notes, and let's talk about what's going on for you and whether coaching with me could be exactly the support you've been looking for to achieve your goals. Thank you for listening, my friends. Take care, and I'll talk to you next week. If you're looking for practical advice for how to say no to alcohol and say yes to yourself, you will want to get on my email list. Sign up to receive my free guide with 7 steps to kickstart your sobriety. The link is in the show notes, so go and grab it now, and I'll see you soon in your inbox.